Alright, I'm finally almost all the way through. What a pain in the butt. Okay, hello all my YouTube people. Today I am making a spacer for my front wheel for the Dyna because I got a 21-inch wheel from a later year or a later model Dyna that I want to put on my 1994 Dyna that originally had a 16-inch wheel on it. So, because I don't have a lathe, I can't just like make a spacer and have it be easy. So what I'm gonna do is I've got this spacer that fits my axle, but I need it to be shorter. So I want it to be about 7/8 of an inch wide to fill the gap that I need it to fill on my axle for my front wheel to be spaced and centered correctly. So I'm just going to show you guys how we set up for this here to get a perfect cut all the way around the spacer so that it's not going to be all like wonky and stuff in there. So I've got a few pieces of aluminum here. I've got some 3/8 inch thick aluminum block and then an 1/8 inch aluminum block and 2 hacksaw blades. So I'll show you guys how I've got this all set up. And I'm just gonna say that if you're gonna do this, it's very important to make sure that everything that you're using it doesn't have to be like clean, like to look at. It has to feel clean. It has to feel nice and smooth so that you don't have any weird anomalies in the metal or on the surface that you're working on, so that you end up with a straight cut. Okay, so first of all, on top I've got one of my pieces of aluminum block just to kind of cover the seam that I've got with these other 2 pieces of aluminum underneath, so that I can clamp it down with one of my C-clamps and not have it get all messed up. And then I've got 2 more pieces here. Just I don't have a longer piece or else I'd be using that, but I'm just using what I got around. So, and then I've got 2 more pieces here just to sandwich my hacksaw blade in place. So I've got 2 hacksaw blades in here. One of them will be my cutting blade, and you want to use like ideally a brand new blade so that you have a good cutting edge. So I've got that in front for my cutting blade, and then this one in the back is just an old blade, but it's just to fill the gap in the back here so that my blocks don't end up kind of like tilted on there when I clamp them down. So I've got those there. I'm gonna get those out of the way. And then these pieces of aluminum that I've got underneath are just to make this the height so that it'll cut the spacer the size that I want it to be. So I've got aluminum. You might end up using whatever you've got around. These are just the cleanest pieces of metal that I've got around, and they're the right thickness to make up the space that I want this spacer to end up being when I'm done cutting it. This is just an 1/8 inch thick piece, and then I've got my other 3/8 inch pieces. So 7/8 altogether is what I need for this spacer. And then I'll put the blades back in here, and I'll just leave this one out enough so that the teeth are not being clamped in between the pieces of aluminum, so that you get that as flat as it can be. And then when you set up your front blade, you want all of this stuff to be as straight as you can get it so that the edges are all flush together. And I'm just gonna have my blade sticking out about 1/8 of an inch, almost like right to the edge of where that hole is, where it would go into the hacksaw. So yeah, I'm gonna get this all set up and clamped down and ready to go, and then I'll show you guys how I do this. So I've got this all set up to do, and yeah, I'm just ready to get started here. And a reminder reminder, you want to make sure that your surface that you're working on is nice and clean, because you want this spacer to stay flat on that surface as you're cutting. So now I'm going to work on this. And you want to be turning it as you go along. So I'm going down the length of the blade once, turning it a tiny little bit, and then going down again so that I get a groove all the way around. So now that I've got this spacer, I've started a cut in it. So, I don't know if you can see, it's got like, take my glove off and show you. It's got like a good groove going on in there. With that groove, that'll be like a good starting point for me to cut it the rest of the way just normally with a hacksaw, because doing it this way takes forever. This is just how you get your cut started, so that you know you've got the beginning of your cut square. So then you kind of give yourself like a groove all the way around the spacer to work in and keep the cut square. All right, I'm all set up in the vise here to finish my cut, and that groove that I started over on the bench there is going to give me a good divot, I guess, for my blade to sit in with my hacksaw while I finish the cut. Like I said, I've got a new blade in my hacksaw so that I've got enough cutting power, because I don't want my blade going dull and I don't really want this to be a huge struggle. I'm just going to go around, just doing a little bit at a time. I'll probably do 2 full revolutions before I actually get through. So I'll cut halfway through whatever amount of material is left, and then I'll turn it a little bit, do another small cut about halfway through, and I'll keep going around till I get back to the point that I started at. And then on the second round, I'll go all the way through, because that's also going to help me just to keep it all square. And then keeping an eye on the edge of my blade to make sure that I'm not tilting it from side to side like this, because like I want this edge to be square. Here we go. Finally! I'm gonna have to clean this edge up a bit with the belt sander and finally cut it to the size it needs to be. And now I just have to make sure I don't screw it up on the belt sander. Okay, I'm just gonna clean this thing up in the belt sander now, but I just wanted to show you guys just how square it is already just by cutting it with the setup that I had. So I'm just going to show you guys how square of a cut I ended up getting already with the setup that I had. So you can see that sitting on there just perfectly, just about perfectly. And I'm just going to keep checking it periodically throughout this belt sander process so that I make sure I keep it square. That is how I make a square spacer without machine tools. Yeah, and you know what? Checking this with this little tiny square that is made for checking machined parts my cut edge, my hand cut edge is basically exactly square. There might be like the tiniest fraction of a millimeter of it where it's not exactly square, but I compared it to the actual machined edge on the other side, and my cut side is actually more square than this machined side. So I am happy with that. So anyway, guys, this was just another one of those little like how to do it the hillbilly way videos of mine. And anyway, that's it, guys. And like I always say, if you like what you see, or if you just like me, or even if you don't like me but you like my bike, then like this video, comment down below, subscribe to my channel, and hit the little notification bell if you want to be notified every time I put a new video out. And like always, I will catch you all on the flip side. Peace. Oh, I look so old.